Morning, everybody. I'm going to combine a short layout update along with part 3 of the switching. So as you can tell, I've been laying ballast. The entire layout is ballasted now. Got some static grass in place. The ballast for Cedar Heights Clay is actually like a clay type mixture, like I showed you in that one photograph. So it doesn't look like ballast at all. I did cut in the man door here. These are just plug lights, and I've got a just plug light sticking up inside it too that I will light up the building. So I want to talk about how I cut in the man door. So what I did was, remember, this building is a sheet of this thin concrete block over styrene. So what I did was I cut out a door, glued it in place exactly where I wanted it, and took an X-Acto knife with a brand new blade and trimmed out all the way around it, and then popped off the concrete block underneath it. At that point, I had the exposed styrene from inside, and I framed it up with some 111 really tiny strip styrene stuff. Sort of made a frame, and the doorknob is just a touch of like a toothpick of silver paint. So it does barely show up. I'm not going to put the other door on. I'm going to cover it with pallets just because that's the way it looked in real life. You couldn't see the other door anyhow. I'm going to carry the tripod around. Okay, so I've added some rooftop details, not an excessive amount, but I've added some. See if I can get into it here. I have an old photograph that shows that there used to be a little building here next to the freight house. No one can remember or know what it was, but I put a little foundation there, which is just some styrene glued together, painted with concrete, super glued it in place, and then put static grass all around it. Now this is just 2mm static grass because this is like a mowed lawn, like the B&O is taking care of this. I am going to put some trees in there probably, but you get back closer to Cedar Heights Clay and it's a little bit more weedy, and it's a tall static grass. A couple other things I did. There is a tank back there because the prototype had one, and that car right there that's all heavily weathered, that's going to be a permanent scenic fixture there, because they did have the spur went on farther back, and they stored cars that weren't being used there. So I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to take it out of JMRI, so it can't be used. One casualty was I broke my semaphore. I was cleaning the track after ballasting, and it popped loose, the super glue, and it shot off, and I found it, but one of the heads, I've not found the head yet, so I'm going to have to repair that. So right now I don't have a semaphore in place. So crews are running blind, I guess. Besides that, like I said, all the track is ballasted, diamond and everything. And I'm already ran trains, already know it's all good to go. So let's get into part 3 of the switching, which is what we have to do is we have to switch what I used to call Davis fire brick, but now it's called, let's see, make sure I get this right. I think it's Ohio fire brick. Gotta get used to saying it. So let me position the camera, we'll get into switching that. Hey everybody, there's part 3. Going to narrate it inside today because the wind chill is about 16 degrees, so I'm wimping out on you. So we left off with the whole train was on the passing siding, and we're going to have to switch one boxcar into Ohio fire brick, and it's in spot 2, so we're going to have to respot I think it's the Rock Island car in spot 1. But we're going to do double duty and sort of build the train for the return trip at the same time. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push the caboose down across Route 93 and leave it down there. One thing that leaves it closer to where we're going to be doing all the switching. So this isn't a 2-man crew territory, so we can actually have extra brakemen and flagging crossings and everything. So that way we don't have to blow for all the crossings and still keep everyone safe. So we're going to spot the caboose. Now we're going to go back and get the boxcar that we're switching into Ohio Fire Brick. And we'll leave the rest of the train on the passing siding. You'll see how this all comes together at the end. I like this view of the town and the total area, but you don't get to see as much of the actual trains operating as much. So, but it's a lot easier for me to put the camera in place and just occasionally try to zoom rather than having to mess with the gimbal and pan and do all that. You can see the lack of a semaphore in this picture. Hopefully the next time you see Oak Hill, that will be remedied. So we're going to spot this boxcar, and we're going to couple it to the caboose. We've already got the brakes tied down on the caboose, keep it from rolling across Route 93, so we couple the boxcar to it. It'll be safe. I've got a bunch of mismatched couplers again. The caboose is Atlas. I think this boxcar is Atlas. The Rock Island car is an Athearn. And everything else is microtrains, I think. But they did okay. So now we're going to go into Ohio Fire Brick. I'm trying to get used to saying Ohio Fire Brick. I've been calling it Davis Fire Brick for so long. And we're going to pull only the first car, the Rock Island car. And we're going to take it back and spot it onto the N&W car that we're delivering. And that way when we push them in, they'll be in the right order. So a lot of back and forth in this switching operation. Which I don't know if they did that at Davis Fire Brick. I know they did a lot of that at Cedar Heights Clay. Sorry for my creaky chair. It's coffee and cinnamon rolls this morning. Narrating this Monday morning because the 1st was on a Saturday, and that's a company paid holiday. They're giving us Monday off, which seems sort of weird, but I won't argue with them. So I guess next year the 1st will be on a Sunday and we'll get Monday off again. Another reason I decided to go ahead and put the lights into Cedar Heights Clay is I think I am going to eventually put crossing signals here like I have in Chillicothe on Douglas Avenue. Not going to do them on Main Street, but I don't think Main Street ever had them, to be honest with you. But Route 93 should have them the way I've got my track configured. So I'm going to need electricity in there anyhow, so project for down the road, but I think I'll eventually do it. My next big project is going to be the brickyard, but I think I'm going to work on either the post office or the restaurant up along Main Street and Railroad Street before I tackle that. All right, so this is the car we're actually taking back to Chillicothe with us. So we're going to couple on to the two that need to be spotted back at the brick plant. We'll uncouple the caboose. Of course, we're going to leave the brake set on the caboose, but we'll uncouple it and then we'll shove the two cars back into the loading dock. Again, Ohio Fire Brick, I've seen pictures where they've had, 5 boxcars on this loading dock and probably room for 2 more. But I can't model that many. I'm just probably going to keep it with 2 car spots. Maybe make it to where there's 3 spaces, or actually 4 spaces, but just maximum of 2 cars there at a time, because this is getting toward the end when the brick industry was winding down in Oak Hill, and this might have been one of the last 2 brickyards running. There are no brickyards running now, although Cedar Heights Clay is still in business. There's still a lot of clay industry there, just no brickyards. I stopped there for a second in the street to let the brakeman climb on the engine, in case you're wondering. I probably should have just told him to stay there and flag the crossing, so I don't have to blow for it. So now we're going to couple the boxcar we picked up, the southern boxcar, onto the caboose. And we're going to make sure that we are far enough south of the passing siding turnout that we can just push the train down onto these 2 cars, the boxcar and the caboose, and that'll complete our train to Chillicothe. So there's no more shuffling. So now all we need to do is pull forward onto cross Main Street, back down the passing siding, couple onto the cars, push them down to the other end of the passing siding, and couple onto the boxcar and the caboose, and then we can head out of town. So that was the plan all along. So we were sort of doing 2 things at once, which way it may not have been the most efficient way to switch the brickyard, but it might have been the most efficient way to do the 2 of them together. It also keeps that car of loose scrap in the middle of the train, so it's safer for everybody. So I filmed this in one continuous take. No stalls, no derailments, which is always the fear after you ballast track, that you don't get it clean, or there's a little piece of ballast somewhere fouling a turnout or something, but all ran very well. So now we're just going to pull out of town on the passing siding. Of course, we'll stop here, let the brakeman get out and throw the turnout back to the main line. We just left the train blocking Route 93 for their safety, so they don't have to walk back across traffic. You can tell I used a mixture of cinders and ballast for the passing siding. And then the Cedar Heights siding is the clay mixture. And the brickyard is the mixture with cinders. But they rebuilt the spur on the scrapyard, so it's relatively good looking. All right, we're heading out of town, back to Chillicothe. So we'll pick it up in part 4. So everybody stay safe. But wait, there's more. As you can see, I've added some gravel, which is like ballast, and some Woodland Scenics road material. The lights above the doors are operational, and I actually have a light. Inside, I have a figure standing there, and I've got some, I guess, a fake interior. Those are actually bags of Cedar Heights clay that I got off the internet. Shrink them down so small you couldn't even see them, so they're a little bit bigger than they should be. But it creates an effect that there's somebody in there, there's an interior in there, and I'm going to add a fork truck too, as soon as I get it built. So everybody stay safe.